Hello everyone, it's Tabane Will Maleka here, your host on Business Briefing 101 show. Now, we were at number 173 Mandela Drive yesterday, where the DSTIA, the Department of Economic Small Business Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs, along with a partner, zero carbon charge company, that has now launched the initiative of electric vehicle charging stations, here in Bloemfontein. So we were there yesterday to get a sense of what actually does the project bring, what does it mean for the Free State. Now, obviously, there's going to be a presentation just after this that Mr. Joubert Roux of Zero Carbon Charge company is going to do to elaborate on what the project means, what it means for the Free State. Is the project happening only here in the Free State, or is it happening in other provinces as well? Now, Mr. Joubert touches on, how proud he is to launch this initiative here in the Free State, and as I mentioned, he will elaborate his reasons why that is so. He says the Free State as a province, is the heart of the country in as far as transportation is concerned. Now, remember, at the end of our show, we would like you to have your comments and your input in what you think about projects such as this one, because remember, as it is now, the technology still stays with us, or it is still where the internal combustion engines vehicles are still manufactured. Now, this transition of embracing the electric vehicles is still a new concept to many of us, that we are still learning about it. But people like Mr. Joubert Roux, supported by DSTIA and other strategic partners, are on the ground teaching and rolling out this project, which we are aware is going to be rolled out in about 13 municipalities. So just tune in, listen to his presentation, and think carefully about what this project means to you, what you think it means for the province, what you think it means for the country, South Africa. Stay tuned. Hello everyone, it's Tabane Will Maleka here, your host on the very first episode of our Business Briefing 101 show. We're coming to you today, on a Tuesday from 173 Nelson Mandela Road, Standard Bank Business Suite here in Bloemfontein. Now, why are we here today? We have got very interesting news for you today, whereby the technology and imminent change is really taking place, in a sense that we are here today to hear the MEC of DSTIA and Tate Thabo Meeko and and other partners, whereby they are launching the electric vehicle charging stations here in Bloemfontein. And the program or the initiative is actually going to be rolled out to other 13 municipalities as well. And then we will, of course, elaborate on where this project is going to be rolled out in the near future. So just stay tuned as we bring you these very interesting news on this technology of electric vehicles, which are by the way going to be manufactured locally as well. So we are looking into the aspects of employment and investment to increase the economy of the Free State province. So my name is Tabane Will Maleka here on the very first episode of Business Briefing 101 show, and then we will brief you more when we come back.
and also welcome the project sponsor of the project that brings us together today. Essentially, you would then learn from the presentations that will follow this welcome that indeed as this year we have invited to precisely speak to two fundamental mandates of our department. One is the environmental mandate, wherein we are committed as a country and also as a provincial government.
Possible. We're proud to be launching this project in the Free State. You know, I've found since I've started this project that there's a repositioning of power and there's a repositioning of almost future focusedness in South Africa, where the Free State, the Northern Cape, the Eastern Cape and Limpopo are looking at the future and are looking to grab the opportunities offered by the whole movement to renewable energy. So it's a real honor to be here today to launch this project, the first public launch in partnership with Destia in the Free State. And the support we've received from MEC MECO has been phenomenal. The commitment that they've shown to developing the province and the foresight they've shown has just been remarkable. You know, in South Africa, I don't have to convince anybody that we've got an energy problem. I don't have to convince anybody that we've got a weak network. And I don't have to convince anybody that there's a almost irreversible movement towards electric vehicles, where China have now achieved 50% market penetration of electrical vehicles in their local market. That's the largest new car market in the world. So that movement's almost like a tide coming in, and we're not going to miss the tide. So when we started looking at the charging network for electric vehicles, we very quickly realized, first of all, it makes no sense to migrate to electric vehicles from a green economy and a net zero perspective and then charge the vehicle on electricity generated from coal. So that made, from a first principle, no sense. Secondly, I realized that all of a sudden you're going to have multi-megawatt requirements for energy in places like Pofadder and Bitterfontein. And the grid was never designed, there's no fault of the grid, it was just never designed to replace petrol and diesel as an energy source for vehicles. So we had to figure out a new solution. And I often say to people, maybe in 30 years we'll look back at Eskom and say they did us a favor by just pushing us into the renewable energy sphere. So we came up with a solution. We first of all said, you need a coverage of the entire country. So we decided on an interval of 150 kilometers on all the national roads for the initial rollout, covering all the national roads. That's where the figure of 120 comes from. So the first phase of the project was to actually rush out there, procure these sites, signed approvals with each of the landowners, and start the permitting process. It was all going to be new. You'll have to convince all authorities to buy into the vision of the future. So we did that. Then we had to come up with a technical solution, which I thought was going to be a walk in the park, because none of the equipment we use is actually new. It's all off the shelf. But getting the stuff to work together, because we've got dynamic supply, mostly solar, battery storage, but then on the other hand we've got dynamic demand, turned out to be more of a moon landing than I thought. I eventually had to task an integrating firm in China to integrate all the equipment for us. And we are very happy that we're actually signing off on our first set of equipment in China this weekend, doing a factory sign-off to be delivered into your neighboring province of the Northwest, actually straddling the border of the Northwest in Wolmaransstad. That'll be our proof of concept station, so that is in the works. The civil works have started, so we started rolling that out. When you drive, or I actually had the privilege of driving around South Africa and signing up the first set of the networks. So I literally drove all the national roads. So if you want to report on the state of the national roads, I can give it to you, and they're in much better state than anybody reports. But I quickly realized that the Free State, there are two towns in South Africa. The one is Ermelo and the other one is Free State, where all national roads seem to meet. So the Free State became a center of the development and almost a core part of the development because of the N1 going through, the N10, the N6, the route down to the major harbors. So we focused on signing a network here, getting the permitting process going, and hence this occasion. The Free States is really the heart, from a transport point of view, the heart of the country. When we designed the project, we specifically said we don't want to buy the properties. And because then it becomes almost like a national retail chain setting up a supermarket in a small town, and all that income gets sucked out of the community and nothing comes back in the community. So we developed a model where we enter into a long-term lease with the landowner. It's very similar to the normal large wind and solar farms, where there's no risk to the landowner, but he shares in a substantial share of the future revenues of the site. He gets 5% of the turnover generated from retail sales on the site, which is very significant and acts as almost diversification to all of those farmers, an additional source of income. So from that sense, it's been a privilege to see the effect on a lot of farmers. And then we also committed, because we're moving into almost a new era of energy and vehicles, and it's a totally new industry. It's going to replace quite a few industries. We decided to commit 1% of the turnover generated on each site to an educational effort. We've contracted a firm that's very successful in developing and nursing talent right through, all the way through university. And schools, we've contracted them to provide that service to us. So that's also because most of those efforts, the problem is the money is always doubtful for next year. So the people that do the execution always spend 50% of their time raising the money and another 50% of the effort. So we decided if we commit, then they can commit to a permanent investment and have a permanent hub for talent development in each area. Now in South Africa, if we manage to migrate our transport sector to electric vehicles as a power source, it's going to add about 30% to our peak generating capacity in demand. Now we know that we currently run at about 25% of our generating capacity, and that's why we decided to make this effort completely additive to our current generating capacity. So we won't be putting any strain on first of all the supply, nor would we put any strain on the distribution network. So each station consists, we build the first network as small as we can, but with as large a footprint as we can. And then we'll grow it as demand grows. The beauty of of renewable energy is that it's completely modular. It's quick to install. So we permit the sites so we are ready for future growth, and as the demand grows, we can either add batteries, we can add solar, or we can add chargers. The technology we're installing is really state-of-the-art. It's second generation. It's central charging power units with 6 dispensers, 3 500 amp, 3 200 amp. So we will be able to charge any vehicle, any electric vehicle in the market now at its peak charging rate. The aim is to get charging times to under 20 minutes maximum. With some of the new vehicles, that time is already down to 12 minutes, which is competitive with just putting in fuel. The technology is developing at an astounding rate. The battery technology now doubles in capacity every 3 years. So the technology, and in China, the vehicles are now cost competitive with internal combustion vehicles. So I think we must prepare ourselves for a very quick ramp up. What has astounded me though, as we developed this process, what the pushback is. You know, on the one hand, everybody talks about our net zero aims for 2050. How important is the Department of Transport have committed to a net zero transport sector by 2050. But then you run into organizations that just push back. You know, organizations like Sunrail that doesn't actively work against the project, but they are commenting authority, and they just don't provide those comments, so your land use approvals can't go through. I think in the project we've got about 45 that are now, most of them are more than 300 days old, where we've been waiting for those comments. I have been surprised though where we found the biggest support in provinces like the Free State, the Northern Cape and the Eastern Cape, where there's been real commitment from the government and real push towards these developments. We've undertaken a study and all the other forecasts, including the government's forecast for the uptake of electric vehicles. We think we're at that cusp where you get that exponential growth. There are now 32 countries worldwide that reach what they regard as a tipping point of 5% market penetration for electric vehicles. And in all of those countries, they went to 15% market penetration within 3 years. And those 32 countries constitute 65% of the new vehicle market worldwide. So we feel we're at the cusp of that take-up next year. But what we have found it astounding is how quickly the development in commercial vehicle take-up of electric vehicles are. How quickly that technology is developing. We've just come back from China on a study tour of car manufacturers and truck manufacturers. Battery swapping in trucks is a real thing. It takes 5 minutes for a 450 kilowatt battery to be swapped. And that makes electrification of commercial vehicles an absolute reality. And in South Africa, we've got 2 drives. There's a border adjustment tax for Europe for anybody that exports. That's a reality. And then there's a local carbon tax. And companies have all of a sudden realized that's a reality and they have to start planning for that. So the tier 2 and tier 3 emission reductions become a very real driver. So what we've done is we've already started the permitting process on truck routes. It's very pertinent to the Free State because the through route down to Kucha on the N10, the N6 to East London, the N2 the N1, those are all very, very, very busy truck routes. Those are really big developments. They're in increments of 12.5 megawatts for each truck swapping station. So those are really, really, really large developments. And we've already assigned the sites in the Free State. So the Free State, the project that we're talking about here, consists of 15 car sites on the national roads in the Free State, 15 car sites on the regional roads in the Free State. That'll give a very good coverage. So wherever you drive, on whatever major road in the Free State, you'll be within 150 kilometers of a charging station. And we've got 5 truck sites, seven truck sites that's been signed. The first route of those that will be developed will be either the N1 or the N10. The N10 is very suitable for this development because it mainly constitutes exactly the same trucks. And that's our story. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joubert. I think from the presentation you received, it is clear how protection of the environment accompanied by stimulation of economic development do not necessarily need to contradict each other in terms of which one comes first. And in line with that presentation, allow me to welcome MEC Thabo to then address you on how, from the side of the department, we take these 2 priorities or mandates seriously as a department. MEC Meko, thank you.
And that is how we wrap up our show today. I'm sure you enjoyed the presentation from Mr. Joubert Roux of Zero Carbon Charge Company, a company that is leading the initiative of the electric vehicle charging stations here in the Free State and other provinces that Mr. Joubert Roux has mentioned. Of course, he mentioned the Northern Cape, he mentioned the Eastern Cape, as well as Limpopo province. So tell us what you think on all the points that Mr. Joubert mentioned. Do you think this project is positive? Do you think it will bring solutions on the issue of employment, the issue of businesses and entrepreneurship, and the growth and the facilitation of economies around those municipalities where the project is going to be rolled out? Mr. Joubert obviously, wrapped up on a very important note, saying technology evolves at least every 3 years. At least every 3 years. So that is a rapid rate, in which technology evolves. So we cannot miss the tide, as he eloquently put it. So before I get ahead of myself, give us your comments, give us your thoughts about the whole presentation, and where you think the project will take the province to. My name is Tabane Wole Maleka, your host on the Business Briefing 101 show. Until we meet next time, remember to subscribe and follow our channels. On YouTube, we are Business Window Magazine Podcast, and on Facebook, we are Business Window Magazine. We are, of course, on all other social media platforms as well. On TikTok, we are Business Window Magazine. On LinkedIn, we are Business Window Magazine. On Instagram, Business Window Magazine. So just follow and subscribe for more. Until we meet next time, keep well. Just one thing before we leave you, just look out for this upcoming edition of Business Window magazine. It's a June 2024 edition coming your way, and small businesses across the Free State, across the country, have been featured in this very interesting edition of Business Window magazine. And like the Department of Economic, Small Business Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs has of course assisted many of these young business people featured in our upcoming edition of Business Window magazine. So you definitely, without doubt, don't want to miss it. So you might as well just order your copy today.